We are in, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So you told me just before we start that you do also government consultant, yes?
I do government and public relations consulting, yes.
So how does someone, for example, ask you about the government consultant, like what?
Well, I work with several nonprofits, the main one being No Business with Genocide. We're trying to get governments and businesses to stop profiting from and funding genocide. So like I met with 2 New York local politicians last week to talk about introducing resolutions to not spend any money with companies that promote genocide. And I also, like, I've written for the Washington Post. I do all of our blogging, all of, the PR stuff on social media and with traditional media too. So
Wow.
typically I work with organizations.
So what's your point of view of some people? They say that China and businesses are working together. It's like it's one unit, and that's how also they think that they can be stronger and maybe cause some issues to the US.
Well, I don't know if this answers your question. We do some work on the issue of the Uyghurs in China. Last year, we helped with several protests for Fashion Week. We're trying to get companies like Nike, Zara, and others to stop using cotton sourced from China. Someone's at my door. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Nobody knows where I live. Nobody knocks my door. I'm hiding when I do this podcast. So we will pause and we will come back.
Okay.
I buzzed, so it's
sorry about that. So we do think China is complicit in genocide already with the Uyghurs, but also they support the military junta in Myanmar. So yeah, China's a bad actor.
But do you like have fear in the US from China? Because many people are saying that China want to take over the US.
I don't think China wants to take over the US. I think China looks at us, they're such an they're a much older country and government than US is. So I think sometimes they look at us like the new kids on the block, like, don't tell us what to do. We've been around for a millennium and you're very new. So, but I don't think they're going to take over the US. They could probably do that right now, given how much money we owe them from our national debt. But I don't think they want to do that.
Wow. So now really the US owe China money?
Yes. I could probably get you more information about that, but I do believe we owe them quite a bit.
And how do you feel about, for example, the US, they helped Ukraine with like big amount of money, and many people are saying that maybe this money could be spent on educating people. We have homeless. We shouldn't spend the money like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of assumptions that aren't accurate. That assumes that we're currently taking money from poor people and sending it to Ukraine. That's not what's happening. That money, we spend between 1% and 3%. I think it's more closer to 1% of our budget on foreign aid. I personally think we need to do whatever we can to help Ukraine, because if Russia wins in Ukraine, they're not stopping there. There's just going to lead to a much larger conflict that will cost us a lot more in the long run. So I think those people are conflating issues and are naive.
It's scary to think about it. So do you try to mix this with your comedy? Is that what you try to make fun mostly about, or what do you try to target when you make your joke?
My comedy is more focused on the ridiculous things I see and the contradictions I see everywhere. In politics, for me, it comes down mostly to hypocrisy on the right, because you got these people like, I'm a liberal, I'm a progressive Democrat. And I was told for years that I was a snowflake and get over the election in 2016, which I got over immediately. And now you got like Donald Trump, oh, I lost the election, no, I stole it. Like, good Lord, you're a grown man. Even Brian Kilmeade from Fox News was like, this, I see no evidence of voter fraud. Like, and he said yesterday that if Trump had conceded and just moved on, he would be in such a better position to run again in 2024. He'd win, but he's so like thin-skinned, and all of his supporters are like, you say anything about like, oh, I don't like that suit he's wearing. Oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. Like, you people are still whining about something Hillary Clinton said in 2016. Like, move on. Just so I like to make fun of that. And Americans don't really understand communism. Sorry, but like, I'm on this website next door, which is snarky Facebook, and they're like, these people come to Florida and they buy all this property and then they rent it. It's too expensive. Damn communists. And it's like, that's, you know, that's not communism, that's capitalism. But they don't get that. So I make fun of them a lot.
Yeah, but how do you feel like many people are like saying that Joe Biden is the worst president the US ever had, because he's not even like,
yeah, but people
like
say that every president. I mean, personally, I think Donald Trump was the worst president. But if you really pressed me, I probably said the same thing about George W. Bush. People said that about Obama, that he was the most divisive president. I mean, I think there's going to be a segment of the population that says that no matter who the president is. Biden is in a very unfortunate position because a lot of world things have happened that have nothing to do with him. Like, he really doesn't control the gas prices or what Vladimir Putin does, but people blame him for all this stuff. So it's, yeah, he's in a bad way. I don't think he should run again, but that's just my opinion.
Like, the reason I said that some people think he's the worst is mentally as well, because many people are pointing fingers that he's not even like with his mental health to rule like 300 million and big country.
Yeah, I kind of think that's backlash from what people said about Trump. I mean, say what you want about Joe Biden. He's not out there promoting the fact that he passed a senility test. I had my mother take the same man, woman, person, television, camera test that Trump took. And that's a test for dementia. That's not a test for intelligence. And so, I mean, I think that's just backlash from that. And, you know, he is older. I don't think we should have a president as old as he is. I don't know if there could be age limits, but I think we do need to get younger people involved in government.
It's crazy because, you know, also, for example, if you have a company or like a government and someone is being in that position for too many years, he will be bitter. Like when you bring someone every 4 years, it's like by the time they are getting bitter and they are understanding the job, someone else comes. Yeah. But then if you put someone for long term, you have dictator. Like, so what do you think? There is something in me that, as just an opinion, how do you feel about that?
About having a leader there? Well, we do have term limits for presidents in the United States. So you can't be president for more than 2 terms. I don't know. I mean, I think the problem I have like with term limits for Congress is then it's the staff people who have all the power, not the elected officials. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings about all of it. We have people like Chuck Grassley is 88 and he's running again for Senate. That's 6 more years. I don't know. That's a really good question, and I'm torn about it.
Yeah, it's also nobody has like a good answer for it or anything. So what do you enjoy more, to work on government relations or to work in like the other, which is but you say you work consultant for a government relation, and what's the other one?
Public relations,
Which
but I
one?
do mostly for nonprofits. I mean, I like doing that a lot. I had a really big successful week last week. I think because of some of the emails I sent, 3 new people signed on to a bill that I'm pushing. So that was rewarding. But I love doing comedy too. That's why I stopped doing political work. I used to work on campaigns and I stopped doing it professionally because I couldn't do the comedy and I didn't want to give it up.
So now where you live exactly?
I live on Long Island in New York.
So that's a good spot for comedy.
Yeah, I can go to the city anytime. I usually go to once or twice a week.
And it's like you told me every day you can find an open mic.
Oh, in the city,
Or-
every day you can do. I was in last week. I did 3 one day. I could have done more.
Wow.
You could do, yeah, you can go out and do multiple mics a day in New York City. It's great.
And how is the audience? Because I feel like when you go to audience that live in a place like this, they are even more professional, or do you find some crazy audience?
There's sometimes I actually did the industry room at Broadway Comedy Club last summer. And one of the people brought his friends, you have to bring people and all these things. And they were from his frat and they all got so drunk that he almost was not allowed to perform because his friends were so disruptive. And it's like, so there's crazy people everywhere. But New York does seem to have a little more of I want to say sophisticated urban kind of feel to it. I do different comedy in New York City than I do out here on Long Island. I'm much darker in the city.
If you want to go to New York from Long Island, can you go with car, or is it like you are in the middle of the sea?
I tend to take the train because parking is so difficult in the city. And it's just easier to take the train. I take the train into Penn Station, then I go all over the city. So I take the train. But people do drive.
Long Island, is it an island?
Yes, it is an island.
And the train goes from Long Island to New York, but like on the sea or what? That's crazy.
Well, it's a long, I mean, it really is a very long island. It's 120 miles long. I'm like smack dab in the middle. There's several train lines that go out into the city. So I usually go from Stony Brook or Ronkonkoma. I'm in the city in about an hour, 2 hours.
I need to see how this train looks like. And
it's the busiest rail in the world, apparently. The Long Island Railroad.
Wow. And the other question I also wanted to ask you is, or I just wanted to tell you, like where I am here in Cyprus, there is no comedy, like no stand-up comedians, no open mics, nothing. It's like the opposite.
Thank God for Zoom then, right?
To the point where even when you tell people stand-up comedy, they don't know what you are talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York doesn't have that problem, I can tell you. There's more stand-up comedy here than anywhere else.
Yeah, but there are tourists, so I do it in bars, and tourists would come from the UK and Germany, and
that's cool.
They understand, but the owner of the bar, he has no idea what's going on. He just tell me like, oh, people are laughing. That's good.
That's good. That's awesome that you're doing that. You're such a pioneer.
Yeah, just try. And when you do stand-up comedy, like, do you feel that if you drink or smoke, you are in a better mood, you are more loose, or in just sober state, you are good to go?
I generally don't drink anything before I get up, but because I want to be kind of clear-headed. And one of my first open mics that I went to, this guy got really drunk and he walked straight off the stage. Luckily, nobody was hurt and I laughed very hard, but I want to be funny, but for the right reasons, not because I'm not very coordinated anyway. So if I drank before I did a set, I'd probably fall off the stage and injure myself.
So you do.
But a lot of people do.
Yeah. But some people also think that when they are drunk, they can be more funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of lazy. That's just my opinion. I don't think that, I think things are funny when I'm drunk, but that's because I'm drunk. When I want to be funny without that.
Yeah, also like they say, like if you are drunk, maybe the same thing happen when you are sober, but because you are drunk, it's funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. And I kind of, I don't know. I try not to get hammered before I go up on stage.
Yeah, so you never like you always go sober in the stage.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like when you go on the stage, do you like start saying your jokes, or do you try to find something to connect with the audience before you say your jokes?
No, I just generally jump right into it. I try to use my first joke, which, because I've been doing so much in New York, I generally start out with jokes about the New York Mets. And so I use my first joke as a way to kind of connect with the audience. So that's what I do. I don't do anything additionally to that.
Yeah, and how do you feel? Like, do you feel that some audience find them funny, some audience don't find them funny? Or
Well, that's what I was talking about. I switch up my comedy depending on where I'm doing it. Like if I go into Manhattan, I can joke about how much I don't like Donald Trump and what a hypocrite he is. I can't make those same jokes. Like a joke I was telling in New York City is trying to find civility in social media is like trying to find intelligence at a MAGA rally. That goes over well in the city, not so well out in conservative Long Island where people like Trump. So, it depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, that's cool that you also know what audience work. But also, do you feel different when they are old, young, black, white, Asian?
Yeah, I try to, well, I've never had one that's like all Asian or my comedy isn't as popular urban environment, like when you're talking about that demographic. I tell different jokes or use different examples. If everyone is under the age of 40, some of the older anecdotes they might not get. If they're under the age of 50, there's some of the younger ones they might not get. I'm pretty much, if I'm talking to older people, I think would my mother get it? And if she wouldn't get it, I don't say it to older people. But most of the stuff I try to do is kind of universal. I don't use too obscure references, depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah. And did you like, for example, read some books or had some information how to make a joke, or do you just see how it works? And do you have like?
Well, I've taken several classes. I do think, as basic as it seems, I'm on Rob Chaffee's joke Zoom. He starts it all out, a joke is a setup and a punchline. That was information that I wish I'd gotten in the first comedy class I took, because that is very basic. I mean, I figured that out soon after, but I think taking a class or doing something online is really helpful just to get the structure of it down. Because it's a lot different. People think it's just you get up and tell stories about your life and you just ad lib, but it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that because I like the writing process. But I do have books, and I think they've helped me.
So which book helped you the most?
I like Judy Carter's book, The Comedy Bible. Scott Dickers has a good book. I can't think of the name of it. And the one that I've been using a lot lately, because I'm trying to write a packet for the Seth Meyers show, is this late night writing.
Have you heard of Comedy Secrets writing?
I have not gotten that one yet.
That's the only book I'm reading, and it's so good. I can send it to you as well in PDF, so you have it.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. Even
Rob, he recommended. But the Comedy Bible is also, I hear it everywhere. Like they almost say that if you want to be a comedian, you have to read the Comedy Bible. Do you agree with that?
I don't think you have to read it. I don't think it hurts. Right when the pandemic started, I took a class with Judy Carter and we went through her book. So that's actually why I bought it. And so I don't know if I just had the book, if that would be as helpful, but going through it every week with her and other people, that was helpful. But yeah, I've heard people tell me that it's a waste of time. I've had people say, oh, it's outdated. And there is some outdated information in there because she talks about certain agents or whatever, and they may or may not be alive. But yeah, I think it's a useful book. But you don't have to buy it. I think enough people have bought it.
So do you have it as like a real book?
I have it as a real book, but I think I might also have an electronic version, so I can send that to you if I have it.
And do you prefer to read from the electronic version or the real book? How do you feel?
I read both. I mean, when I take the train to the city, I read books on my phone all the time.
And do you feel there is different on the way your brain process it when you read it from the book?
No.
It's the same.
Though I do find I write everything down on like in a notebook and then I type it in, and writing things down helps me remember them. I might not ever read what I've written down, but just the act of writing it down helps me remember it.
You mean the act of writing it down with your hands, not typing?
Yeah. Like, here's my notebook. I take it everywhere I go.
Because what I feel that helps human, it helps you remember it when you are in the stage, or just remember the joke to work on it later.
Yeah. My problem is I often come up with these great ideas while I'm sleeping, and then I write them down in my notebook, and then I can't read them. So I started like making myself a voice note, and then I still have no idea what I was talking about. So it's got to work on that.
What do you mean it comes to you, you wake up from your sleep?
Yes, and I'll write, oh, that'll be a funny joke, and I write it down.
But when you record it, I think you should understand it. Or do you feel that when you wake up, you are not 100% awake when you say it?
Yeah, I think I might be half asleep. So I mumble something into my phone, roll back asleep, and then I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's, yeah.
But not all of them. Some of them you still get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book I was talking to you about, what I love about it is I feel that, for example, if your car broke, you go to a mechanic. If your body hurts, you go to a doctor, because they have more knowledge than you. They spend more time and effort on understanding how your body works or on how the car works. So you go to them. Life is short. So I feel we as comedians should know what is laugh, how humans, we should study the body, how it comes, even science, to know how science think the body bring laugh, what's a joke. So I think what makes you better than your audience is that you have more knowledge on what is laugh, what is a joke. And that's what makes you good, what makes them listen to you. And that's what I like about this book. It really, I don't know the right word, but it makes it seems like more naked, like the jokes, how it's written.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
And laugh. So like if someone from the audience listen to my comedy, he will laugh and go. But then if he reads the book, he will be like, wow, now I know how this come, And that's why like people who thinks that you just go to the stage and tell stories, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about this book that I'm reading. What do you think like the Comedy Bible helps you with?
Well, I think it put things in a way that I describe things that made it easy to do. Like Judy Carter's a whole thing that you're either, I think it's stupid, funny, crazy, weird, angry. Like you have to have an emotion with every joke. So like a joke I tell sometimes is I got really worried about my father because he's getting older and it's hard. So I saw something news and I called him and I said, Dad, are you the Long Island serial killer? And people tend to laugh at that. You've got the emotions of you're worried, and then the surprise of, not I'm worried about him, but I'm worried about the people around him being murdered by him. But Judy Carter, her approach, every joke has a point of view, I think, which I didn't think of when I first started writing jokes. I thought, well, do I find it funny? And just because I find it funny doesn't mean anybody else is going to find it funny.
So you mean every joke has point to change something on the way the audience think?
There's some emotion attached to every joke, or every premise. You put an emotion, and that's where you take the joke. I'm not describing that very well.
No. It really makes sense, and it's good to know. But do you also think that comedians should have a message after all when they come to do comedy, or it's just to fun?
I don't think you have to do anything. I think comedy is whatever you want it to be, and if you can, I think it's end of the day, if you're trying to be a comedian and you can make people laugh, then you're being a comedian. Whether you have a serious message about whatever is secondary. Like people got all upset about the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, and they said, well, that was a mean joke. Well, who cares? It's a joke. As long as you're just not, as soon as that situation became all about Will Smith when he punched Chris Rock, if it had not punched him, we might have talked about whether that joke was appropriate, but that took it all out of it. I think at the end of the day, it's just about being funny, and everyone's going to find that different because it is so subjective. Some of the best humor I've seen is just silly, goofy, mindless humor that has no message.
Yeah. So where would you position yourself on this with your comedy?
Some of my comedy is just goofy things, like I make fun of myself a lot, but some of it has more of a message. I think there's going to be more of that as I become a little more radical in my writing politically. I think my comedy is going to follow that to a little more angry area, because there's a lot to be angry about in today's world. So I'm working on that.
I see. And I know this question is out of the blue, but how do you believe in aliens?
Actually, I think I'm going to go with what Carl Sagan said. He said, if there's no one else out there, that's a lot of wasted space. So yeah, I'm sure they're out there somewhere. I had a boss for a while who was super worried about them. And I'm like, I can't worry about that. Oh yeah. He's like, aren't you scared? And I'm like, I've got laundry to do. I got my own worries. I'm not worried about aliens. If they come, they come. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think to worry about things you cannot control is the worst thing you can do.
It just, especially about something like that, like sometimes I worry a tree is going to fall on my house, and I can't really control that, but that's still more in my purview than little green men hopping on Earth.
Yeah. And what's like your philosophy on just life and why we are here?
I don't know. I'm still working that out. I mean, I'm kind of a Buddhist, but I'm not a very good one. I think when we put positive energy out to the universe, it comes back to us, but I don't believe in God. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said it best, that we're all stardust. And
I know most Indians believe in Buddha. Do you have, or that's wrong information? Buddha is everywhere.
Well, Buddhism, he was born in Nepal. India is primarily a Hindu country. I think Tibet and Nepal are more Buddhist, but there's a lot of Buddhism throughout Asia and Japan and China. So I think it's all over. I like it as more of a philosophy. Just be a better person. Do good, or as Earl from My Name is Earl, do good things, the good things happen.
So you feel like the Buddha religion it's not trying to control people or telling people what to do, or it's all about just being.
It's not about telling people how to live their lives. It's about just trying to get people to just be kinder and gentler people. The Dalai Lama once said, the best religion is the one that makes you the kindest person you can be. I don't think it's about control. I think Christianity is all about control, as we can see in the United States. Because I've read the Bible, and Jesus never brought up homosexuality or abortion. But people are like, thank you, Jesus, for the abortion decision. It's like, I don't think Jesus had anything to do with it.
But your background is Christian, and then you switched
Yeah.
to that.
Well, I was kind of raised without much religion. I mean, I was raised in a very secular household. I wasn't baptized. We celebrated Christmas and Easter, but that was more like at Christmas for Santa Claus and presents, and Easter chocolate. I mean, it wasn't really about Jesus. It was, in fact, I stopped saying the Pledge of Allegiance when I was 6 because I wasn't sure I believed in God.
But you know, also what I like is like Christians, they have the Christmas celebration and New Year, I think, and it's okay to celebrate other things, but in the Muslim religion, you only can celebrate what the religion allow, which is we have the end of the year as well, and then we have other one. And they say that any other celebration or holiday out of this is a fad. And fad, you know what does fad mean? It's like some new idea
That's gonna pass, yeah.
And they say that anything that's fad is in hell with the people that do it. So that's why
there are Christian sects that believe the same thing, though. I have friends that grew up never celebrating their birthday or Mother's Day or anything other than the high holidays because those weren't God's words. So that Christianity has some of that too. I mean, there's extremes in every religion. I mean, in Myanmar, it's the Buddhists who are butchering the Rohingya, who are primarily Muslim. So it's, no religion has a monopoly on crazy.
Because that's why also I don't know my birthday, because my dad was very strict Muslim to the point where he doesn't even want to write or tell us when our real birthday, so we cannot celebrate it anyway.
Well, you can always just pick one.
And it's fascinating to know that there are Christians that still only celebrate the holy holidays and not birthdays or Mom Day or anything.
Yeah, there's at least a few sects. I have a friend that was a Christian Scientist growing up, and apparently they didn't celebrate. I'm not even sure they celebrate Christmas. I mean, they didn't celebrate anything, and he wasn't allowed to go to the doctor. Because they didn't believe they believe the way you heal yourself from any disease or injury is prayer.
And honey.
And maybe that, but luckily he never broke his femur or something because he played sports, but there are Christians that believe that same stuff.
Wow, but why do you think Christians are more open now? Do you think it's because the religion is older than Muslims? And do you think...
I don't think they are more open. I think it depends on the Christians you're talking to. There's some who are incredibly closed-minded. If you look now in the United States at the evangelicals, or like just recently, a bishop in California wasn't going to give Nancy Pelosi communion anymore because she's a pro-choice politician. So I'm not convinced that Christians are any more open. I think, and the worst part of it is a lot of Christians are worried about Sharia law coming to America. So there's a number of places where they've banned Sharia law, but they have no problem pushing Christianity on the rest of us. Like one guy said, well, I support Roe v. Wade being overturned because I'm afraid of the man upstairs. Well, I don't believe in the man upstairs. So why do I have to live by your religion? So I don't think they are any less closed.
But don't you think that Sharia law is more dangerous than Christianity? Because Sharia...
in the Bible, there is the saying, may he without sin cast the first stone, about stoning someone to death. So if we're going to go back to the Bible, as some of these people claim they want to do, I think it could be just as barbaric as anything in any other religion.
That's crazy. And I was also watching a documentary on Netflix. I wanted to talk with you about it. I want to find the name. It's crazy. The name is Anbamar in his own words. Have you heard about it?
I have not heard about that one.
So this it's about one. Okay, if I find his name, you will understand.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
You know Tad Kazasinski.
Kaczynski?
Yeah. So now there is documentary about him.
I love him. He was on SNL 1,000 years ago.
He's criminal. Are we talking about the same person?
Oh no, you're thinking Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. I was thinking of somebody who was on SNL.
So this is the Unabomber. They make documentary about him in Netflix now.
Okay.
And it's like the Unabomber is just one part of a crazy, a crazy brain, scary. Like I like to watch this because I feel like we are all humans. I could be him. Maybe if I had his body and if I lived the life he lived, I could be him. So that's why I like to watch it.
Yeah, I watch a lot of true crime stuff, although I've kind of stopped lately.
But do you feel it's healthy for the brain? Because it kind of makes you maybe like when you watch positive things, you kind of helps you trust the people around you more and be less frustrated. But when you watch some true crimes, it makes you more anxious and negative.
Yeah, I don't think it makes me more anxious. I think part of it is I really was convinced that my dad might be the Long Island serial killer. And so I've always had this fear that I might be some kind of sociopath. So I take tests all the time online, like, are you a sociopath? And I don't think I am, but so I kind of find those things interesting because these people like Ted Bundy is fascinating to me because he worked at a suicide hotline, prevention hotline.
Wow.
And there's realistically, one could argue that he saved more lives than he took. But while he's working on the suicide hotline, he's going out at night murdering people. Like it's just the dichotomy of, murder at night and saving people during the day. Like I find it crazy.
It's like they have to see if he saved more lives than he killed, he's not guilty. If he killed,
oh yeah.
But I also want to ask you this because I feel that as a person with like dark color and like black beard and hair, the world are more scared of us than someone who is white because of the news and what like how many people know about Tad Kazaski, this guy, but how many people knows about Osama bin Laden or all this?
Right.
And
the world is definitely more dangerous for people who are not white. That is absolutely true, especially in the United States. I never once had to worry growing up that if I got pulled over, I'd be shot. You see this happen to Black and brown people all the time in the US. One guy was just shot in the back of the head. Like, you can't even say he was fleeing. The guy was on his back, shoots in the back of the head. Like, that kind of stuff is just, it happens all the time. So I think a lot of people did know about the Unabomber because that was such a big deal. But you're right, more people get upset about Osama bin Laden than they do about Ted Bundy.
But don't you think that we have more? Like there are more also, or do you think it's just the media always try to give people more information about because I do feel that, for example, to be born in Yemen, if you have any problem with your brain, or if you are a bad person, or it's like more motivation, it's like it's easier to take the wrong way in Yemen because like there is no education, no health system, or in most Arabic countries like or in Iraq or Afghanistan or these countries, people are poor. There is no good life, so it's like
it's easier to become radicalized when you have nothing to look forward to.
Exactly.
There's a lot of that, but if you look at percentages, the percentage of Muslims, for instance, that perpetrate violence and terrorism is like 0.0013% of the Muslims on earth. So I think while there is a problem, especially in Arab countries, which is, I honestly think some of the Arab countries really abuse the Palestinian issue because they claim that as like, look, Palestinians are treated so poorly. But then while they use that for propaganda, they don't actually do anything for the Palestinians. So it's just, I worked at the UN for a while, and it was frustrating that you'd see Saudi Arabia go, America, and they hurt the Palestinians, but they're not helping them either. But at the same time, I think white people will they'll take any example they can get of a Black or brown person doing something awful and be like, look, they all do that. And it's just, it's ludicrous. So I think a lot of that comes down to racism.
I also want to add to what you said. There were Palestinian people in Yemen before the war. They ran from Palestine. And when the war happened in Yemen, Saudi didn't let them. They let them die in the war. Like they didn't give them anything. And Americans and Europe, they even helped more than Saudi. Like if you
of course. I mean, because for Saudi Arabia, the Palestinian issue is not one of humanitarian issue. It's a political one they could use to get people worked up in their own country. It's got nothing to do with the well-being of the Palestinians.
It's a nice word when you say it's like not humanitarian, it's political, because it's really like how much Saudi talk and park, but they give zero to help or anything. For other things. Yeah.
I mean, the argument could be made that what Israel is doing is genocide. And I don't know if that's completely been determined, but I'm not a fan of the current Israeli government. Of course, neither apparently are the people of Israel, because I guess it collapsed this week or last week.
You know, I also like, I am from Yemen, which is also in a place where they even teach us in the school that Israel took our holy place and we have to kill them, and like in Yemen, we are educated since we are kids that we have to kill all the Israelis. And it's like here in Cyprus, like 2 weeks ago, I meet someone from Israel. And this is how was our conversation. Like I told her, the Arabs and Muslims are a little bit crazy. And she told me the Jewish are crazy too. And we hung out. We had some food, and it's like, it's all cool. So I think the problem also is how much they put in humans' brains since they are kids. Like to the point where you think that these Israelis are not humans anymore. Like they are not like me.
Well, that's actually why Genocide Watch put the US on notice during the Trump administration, because the first few stages of genocide are when you try to classify the other as being other and you make them not human. And that is the first step in every genocide. We're doing that a lot in the United States. Like I'm on Nextdoor snarky Facebook where people really think liberals that we hate America. I'm a big baby killing lesbian. I'm not either of those things, but I don't know why if I was a lesbian, I'd need to have abortions but they think I'm, like they don't really understand how lesbianism works, I guess. But yeah, that happens all over. And the weird thing to me about like the Israeli Arab thing, because if you looked at that and thought that's how all Muslim Jewish interactions were, you think they hate each other everywhere.
Yeah.
But the World Jewish Congress has been huge for the Uyghurs in China and the Rohingya in Myanmar, and those are both predominantly Muslim or all Muslim populations. So once you get out of the Middle East, that relationship changes completely.
Yeah, and like we can also end up on this, which is bring us back to comedy. All the problems we talked about, it's all about wrong ideas and some wrong education. And it seems that the best way to release these things is comedy, by making fun about it and make it just funny. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
I absolutely do. I think once you start showing people, and I mean, I did a class with Jerry Corley. We talked about our through line in comedy, and mine is pointing out absurdities and incongruities and things. And I think when you point things out to people, they can make fun of it, the temperature comes down a little bit, and we all maybe aren't so angry.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not punching down on Buddha. I have no idea, but it seems to be good to me. But for example, if I want to tell you, don't be Buddha, and it's bad, you have the resist. We always resist when people tell us what to do, even if it's the wrong thing. But if I am able to make a joke about it and make sense of it, like as you said, always the joke has point, and if it makes sense and it's funny, that seems the best way to really change people, way of thinking and ideas, and bring people together. That's the best way to tell someone, or to inform someone, or to try to change someone. There is no better way so far. Hopefully there will not be any other way forever.
Well, I mean, when you laugh, you bring your guard down a little bit. And I think when people are open to laughing, then and their guards are down a little bit, they're not quite so angry and ready to pounce. So I agree completely. Humor might be the way we can heal the world.
Yeah. And I think that's the best way to end it. You just said it. And I really had it's this one thing I love about this podcast is, like, every time I talk with someone, by the end of the podcast, I really appreciate them more, and I feel that I love them more just from the good conversation you bring in. So I appreciate you for that. And
I appreciate you for having me on here. I think I love all the stuff I see you do on Joke Zoom, and I hope you come to the United States.
yeah, I hope as well. And I also love your stuff, and I loved everything you said today. I learned a lot. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day, and see you
too.
soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.